Hi, Sunshines. So I wanted to make this video today as we're currently going through one of the most energetically intense under the surface happening and profound shifts in life. And the last time we had a similar energetic shift was in 2007 for those who want to go back and recall any similar events on this topic that I'm going to speak about today. And so, regardless of your beliefs, whether you work with astrology, spiritual practices, or occult knowledge, the current energetic transit speaks about a very deep internal emotional transformation where you are faced with questioning, assessing, and rebuilding the foundation of your emotional home, of your stability, your safety, and place of belonging. And you will and are probably already experiencing events that trigger adapted patterns from childhood, and especially those that replay your dynamic with your mother. And whether you're conscious of it or not, you're very likely feeling it. A feeling almost as if your life is standing on the edge of uncertainty. It's a very unsettling internal feeling. Yet for this shift to happen, unfortunately, therapy may not be the most helpful tool right now, as when we go to a therapist or psychologist, we use the conscious mind or our Mercury dealing with our thoughts and how we interpret and perceive events and interactions that happened in the past. Whereas this shift is happening on a very deep subconscious, emotional, or soul level, a level that is pre-verbal, it's pre-conscious, and can bring out a lot of unresolved confusion to what we truly need emotionally. Or when we didn't get what we need, how it emotionally impacted us, and it was missing when we were babies or very little children. Things that can be understood by our conscious mind. For example, you may consciously understand that your mother didn't give you the love, affection, communication, consideration, attention that you needed growing up, as she was probably too preoccupied with her own challenges. Yet that doesn't mean you still did not need to feel safe and loved. It's more about that emotion that was became a part of you when that thing was not given to you. And there is still this deep craving living within you, a need for affection, a need for nurturing, a need for communication, a need that cannot be erased, a need that cannot be replaced, a need that is a part of you and holds the foundation for you to be who you are here, to be in this lifetime. So no matter how much you have, no matter how much you have accomplished, no matter how much outside attention you are getting or not, no matter who is around you, if that need is not met at home, all that lives under the surface and the many layers of life becomes a void. A void that looks and seeks for fulfillment, for emotional fulfillment. A void that can only be brought back into life through another soul when you find that emotional fulfillment. Again, this is not something we can conceptualize, intellectualize, or understand on conscious level. It is only very deeply felt. And when that void is filled, it feels almost creates this warm sensation inside. It feels safe, it feels protective. It allows for your body to relax. It allows for your thoughts to melt and experience a shift from emotional turbulence to inner peace. But when we cannot connect with and confront our own deep emotional needs, when they're not being met by those who you have allowed into your depth, then you can feel very deeply unsettled, unsafe, or uncertain, which then causes more worry, anxiety, and depression. This is always the result when we allow for things or people to live within us that violate our truth. So when we speak about real boundaries, they only live in protection of our truth or what our soul needs, and not allowing others to violate it through their either reckless behavior, words, or cynical thoughts. And believe me, no matter how much you can try to run away from it, to travel, move across the world, change your external environment, distract yourself, numb it out, or shove it away, one thing that is certain, that we can never run away from this truth. What we need, truly need to feel safe and restore that peace within. And this is going to keep coming back to the surface of your mind as never settling thoughts, as uncomfortable emotions triggered by others, until they are acknowledged and transformed. Until you begin to find the peace that this is what you need, this is the only thing you will allow in your life, and nothing less has space to live within you. Sad truth is that most feel guilty or ashamed to ask for it, to seek it, and to confront it, living with this doormat, almost sensation of resentment and disappointment when your needs are not being met. And no one can grow, no flower can blossom if your needs are not met and nourished. But it's only up to you to choose and allow what nourished your soil or soul and keep the pesticides out of reach. With those who love you or nourish you, you can blossom and flourish. But if you allow anything less, you will feel depleted, drained, and deprived of feeling safe. And for you to understand the depth of this transformation, this energetic shift carries, when we think of the mother-baby or nurture-soul bond, there is this almost unspoken, deeply intuitive need for understanding and fulfillment that we are truly seeking. But when we speak about pain, pain only comes from being self-deceptive and delusional about your needs. Your needs are not shameful, they're essential for your well-being, and this is what I am proponent for. People understanding, becoming aware, and owning up their needs instead of covering or feeling shameful about them. And when others cannot meet them, it doesn't mean they're bad or anything is wrong with you, but to assess what you are looking for, what needs are you looking to be met, and is the person in front of you the one able to attend to them. And this will require a great degree of self-transparency. Because when your needs are not voiced or attended to, when they're ignored and not valued or acknowledged, that's when we allow violence and toxicity in our lives. In partnerships, these individual needs need to be reciprocated or nourished, or soon the one who is giving will also become depleted and have nothing more to give or nourish. And people, this is essential. This is essential to restore balance, internal balance, and it is all a result of our own choices of what we allow and don't allow. This is not about compromise, because compromise leads to depletion. This is about connection, connection to the soul and what you need, and in turn, our partners. If we don't confront what we need, when in fact we do, we so deeply do, we long for and crave more than anything else in life. And if we haven't had those needs met in our relationship with our mothers, and I say mothers because I'm speaking here about emotional connection, resembling the experience of oneness before the umbilical cord is cut. So we go back to the mother-baby relationship, which is our first experience or root in our lives, creating this emotional connection, then we will keep on seeking them from our partners, who will become mirrors to what personal needs are still being unmet. Or if they are the right ones, we can experience again a sense of safety and oneness. Because toxic relationships only live until we realize those needs. And for that, we also need a deal of self-discipline and not distractions. And the remedy throughout this process is self-discipline. And here I'm speaking about both physical and also spiritual, or everything can start very quickly to feel disturbing. And now let's look at toxicity. Toxic is everything that is destructive to our emotional stability and foundation. Because when we have unmet emotional needs, eventually everything crumbles sooner or later. And this will be the highlight of next month in March, where all of this review will come as a hot wave of awareness. This period will be lasting until the middle of April, and it is not something to be fearful from, but everything that falls off from your life in this time, everything that cannot sustain itself, that doesn't bring you a sense of inner peace, anyone who is not a safe foundation in your life, only speaks to lack of deep soul connection or the lack of being able to establish one. And when there is no emotional depth to sustain you, there is nothing you can truly hold on to. There is no home, no shelter, and where there is no belonging, no true love can live. As I spoke in my last seminar, love is something that belongs to the 5D reality. It is abundant, it's unconditional, but in order for it to be realized, felt, to live here and now in this 3D reality, in this physical reality, it needs a physical container. It needs a home. Think of it this way. We are a soul and a spirit, but in order for us to be humans, we have a physical body. And same is with unconditional love, the one we experience from our mothers. In order for us to have love, we first need a home. We need a safe space, a shelter where it lives. We need a shield, a protection. Everything else is a mumbo jumbo and delusional new age idealizations which have no actualizations and cause only health and mental problems. So here, let's take a look at a home. What does it entail? It entails your emotional needs to be nourished, to be nurtured and comforted, your feelings to be acknowledged. It entails your physical needs to be met. Whereas children, those are about food and clothing, as adults, they also extend to physical or sexual needs. A home entails communication, presence, learning, and when we have all of these three needs met, then we feel safe. We can grow, we can flourish, blossom, and shine. And this results in strengthening our spirit or spiritual connection. Spiritual connection is about the ability for growth, for creation, for creativity. Unconditional love is about having no conditions or obstructions to create, to express yourself. Conditions or obstructions often come when emotionally, physically, and mentally there are unmet needs in the home. But without a home, without a foundation, a container, any love will die as fast as it was ignited. It will be destroyed by lack of base, a foundation, that a ground that it stands on. And the opposite of love is fear. So let's take a look at how this plays out. Imagine you have a fire pit. For this fire pit to be built, first you need to mark the space. There needs to be a defined space, an area where it will be built. Here you can now either dig a hole, remove any weeds or plants, put gravel, lay out bricks or rocks, it almost starts resembling the process of building a home or a building or a house. First, you prepare the ground, and then you bring and set the wood or logs, symbolizing our needs for this to be a home. As you can see how these logs are placed when you have a fire pit, they are intertwined with each other, placed diagonally and pointing upwards to direct the heat that is going to be generated. Meaning, again, symbolically speaking, needs from all sides need to be inclusive and pointing in one direction, upwards. Then for the fire to burn, you need oxygen. Oxygen is a reflection, symbolically again speaking, of communication of thoughts, where you have room for verbal exchange to circulate. And last, you need fuel. Fuel for the fire to burn. Now, this usually is the most challenging part because fuel you can't just readily find outside in nature. And the same is with desire or wanting to. It is a chemical process. It's something that is created. You rub until you see smoke and get a spark. And for example, without matches or a lighter, you can start the fire by, let's say, rubbing rocks together or some other way, which I won't make myself an expert on knowing, but I know that there are many ways to make fire from different supplies. And now that you have built your fire pit, now that you have all that it needs and requires to function, you can start your fire and you can sit with it. You can now enjoy it. You can use it for warmth, for protection from harsh weather conditions. You can use it for cooking, for nourishment. And also, you need to keep constantly feeding it with more wood or logs or emotions so that you can sustain it over time. What is important to know is that you created it by making first a defined space for it to be, by building it so you can then relax and enjoy it. So that enjoyment is almost like a final step. And in return, you value it because you created it and it provides you with all that you need. It provides you with warmth, with protection, and the safety you need to unwind and connect to that peaceful inner state. But now imagine what would happen if you have, let's say, fuel or desire, but there is no particular space or area for it, no definition, no specification, no particular logs to use. And you direct the fuel or desire to any tree out there in the open. This way, you set the whole area on fire and burn the entire forest down to the ground in absolutely no time. And now, given this scenario, this doesn't seem so protective, even if at first might have seemed much more easy, exciting, and fun. And not long after this magnitude of the fire starts burning everything around you, it also causes tremendous amounts of fear and destruction. The flames cannot be contained and it is anything but safe. It turns everything into ashes, and from this place, there is no warmth, there is no nourishment, there is no home. I believe most of you are familiar with the recent fires in California, which have been devastating for so many people, and I cannot even imagine how difficult it still is for them to settle and find grounding in the aftermath. So to prevent such chaos, and considering this event, the shift in energy, which actually this period began early in January, is just one outer manifestation to what is really brewing beneath the surface of each person's subconscious mind. Those are not things we can see, but anyone can feel, conscious of it or not. And which raises the questions, what is this safe space you need, and what do you value in your home to feel that it is the place where you belong? And only when you can answer truthfully these questions to yourself, you can allow the fire to live and find grounding and protection and peace. And yes, at the end of the day, it all comes down to love, which is meant to bring out the best in you and not feel like a threat to your foundation and emotional stability. Many times we don't really know what that love is supposed to be, feel, or even look like, as we have rarely experienced and tasted its protective power and the massive growth it allows in our lives. As many people either had a distant or overly critical, manipulative, victimizing, unavailable mothers. So indeed, it is very challenging to even imagine and understand what we truly need and the inspirational power that love has. We speak about things like unconditional love in very contextualized form, yet to experience it is what causes this profound shift. And since the mother is no, or your mother, our mother, is no longer responsible for meeting our needs, we begin to unconsciously expect they're met by another or by the people we meet or our partners. But unless we have our own awareness of them first, we can't expect really others to guess and fulfill them. And at the same time, if we don't learn to respect and voice them and just expect them to be met by someone, we then run the risk of jeopardizing our home or foundation being destroyed. So if you don't want your life to burn down in ashes to the ground, symbolically speaking, of course, or in practical terms, to emotionally, physically, mentally crumble and lose all remaining hope, now is the time to consider the space you are creating. For what, with who, why, what do you need to live there? And even if you don't see it right now, it doesn't mean it's not out there and you need to stop. And once you choose and commit to that, you can then ignite your fire. I always say this: love is something that lives as long as there is a safe container to create from. Do not look for love. Look for what nurtures you, and is the person in front of you the one who is willing to meet those needs. Because with unmet needs, no one can grow. And love provides a shelter. It's cozy, it's protection, and the rest is simply madness. Love allows you to grow and flourish, to hope, to glow. Fear, on the other hand, an unsafe environment destroys our essence. It destroys our values, and it's uncontainable. It is easy to set a forest on fire, but to keep a fire pit burning, it needs prioritization and constant supply and attendance. It needs direct involvement. You cannot manipulate it to grow on its own or pretend it will continue to glow in your absence. It only grows if you prioritize and continuously nurture it, which also requires discipline. This would be the only remedy right now: self-discipline. Also, if you try to hide, suppress, or manipulate to get your way, things will start to backfire. And the only way to do this is through confronting, asserting, and standing your ground, defending your needs, and seek for clarity. And to believe you deserve to have your needs met. You can't just talk and make promises so the fire continues to burn. You need to act and get the resources or materials necessary to feed it. And only in this process, only there you will find hope, and where the only hope lives. In your own choices, priorities, and directing your efforts and actions in nurturing what you value to live in your home. And hope lives in focus. Focus is determined by your values. Your values are a reflection of your needs, and your needs determined by the love you received from your mother. So hope only lives in the love, the fire pit you're building. As long as your mind prioritizes the unmet needs of the past, then you can never prioritize the peace you seek to create in the now. Thank you for being here. I'll catch you the next time. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And I wish everybody to find the hope within you to go through this process and make the right choices for yourself and build the home that you deserve. Bye-bye.